I have some bad news for XRP holders, and it has to do with the SEC. And as XRP is coming down off its highs since last week's all-time high was hit, I warned everybody about this. I got a lot of people that understood what I was talking about, knew where I was coming from based off of my years of experience in this industry. Then you have the haters, the people that only watch the videos that say that XRP is going to $100 tomorrow. It's going to $500, $10,000 this year. I would challenge you as I bring you this information, which I actually said would happen. It's now happened. I'm going to explain why and how you can make money from it. Challenge you to think a little differently and to set aside the hopium pipe that a lot of people in social media and the mainstream media are handing you while they're making a crap ton of money doing something different with crypto. Also, real quick, as promised, people have asked for just the DeFi, the group coaching calls and the trade picks, the crypto trade picks that me and Dylan do. Links down below if you want just those two things, if you want to check that out. And we have another new crypto project that we're unveiling this afternoon. All right, links down there. So Bitcoin.com just put out news on a high profile ETF deal. Now, everyone's been waiting for these XRP ETFs because the inflows will cause increased upward pressure on the price for XRP. Just so you know, I've been an XRP holder since 2017. It was 2 cents. I sold half of my XRP when I saw the writing on the wall that the SEC was not going to work with, and they were going to delay and delay and delay these ETF filings for a specific reason. I'm going to explain that in a second. Here's the story. The SEC grants, then halts the approval for crypto ETF with XRP. An expert calls it a bizarre situation. So just so you guys know, that's not an expert. I have been telling people how this is going to roll out, and it's been rolling out exactly like I've been talking about. And I'm not tooting my own horn. The truth is the truth. Type 1 if you guys remember me talking about these SEC actions. And I said, you're not going to get this XRP ETF in the timing you want. They want to keep pushing it off because there are a lot of wealthy people that are buying up XRP. So that's good news, right? That's great news for someone like you, and type XRP if you own it, right? That's great news long-term. But in the short term, how do you feel? As a matter of fact, if you owned XRP before 2020 and you went through the whole lockup period process where your XRP was on an exchange and they said, you know what, we're just not going to let you have access to it because we're in charge. That's scary, right? I made a ton of money because my stuff was stored on a cold wallet. As nobody had access to XRP, the float dropped to nothing. There was none available for sale, so the price skyrocketed. I went and listed it on a new exchange that I had, another exchange in another country, and sold it and made a crap ton of money. Then when it was getting unlocked, the price collapsed because people were waiting forever to get a hold of I had family members that had their XRP. They didn't listen to me. They didn't have it on a device like a Trezor. I'll put a link down below to Trezor if you want to learn how to use that, right? It's an incredible tool to have in these times of needs. And people dump them the second they got them because most people are irrational when it comes to investing. They don't understand how this works, right? So you have to position yourself. So this news story is great for long-term holders of XRP and people like me that are about to 10x my holdings, but not just yet. I've got about probably 3 to 4 more weeks before I make that video, before I do it, because I'm moving in and out of these smaller market caps, like the one I talked about yesterday that Ripple is using to strengthen the XRP network. And it's a little tiny market cap coin that nobody talks about or understands. That one was DAI. Go watch my video yesterday, and just so you know, it got very little play. Here's a company that Ripple has straight up come out and said, hey, we're working with this company to provide oracles and off-chain data feeds to our blockchain to strengthen the XRPL because we trust them over Link, because DIA is a trustless system for oracle data feeds. All right, sorry, I'm getting a little techie here. Let's dive into this bizarre situation that Bitcoin.com says an expert said. But I called this a while back. A high-profile crypto ETF holding Bitcoin, Ether, and XRP, and more wins SEC approval. But a surprise stay halts its launch, leaving markets hanging in suspense. The SEC stay delays the launch of Bitwise ETF featuring Bitcoin, Ether, XRP, and more, says the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. And just so you know, The SEC doesn't have a problem with Bitcoin and Ether ETFs. Type 10 if you agree. They got a problem with the XRP portion, okay? Because that's going to be challenging the banking system. They know it, and all their buddies want to buy a ton of it, all right? You're going to see Gary Gensler and his ties to all that too in the future. It says here, the U.S. SEC approved a major multi-asset crypto exchange fund on July 22nd, but then immediately stayed the decision for full commission review. They don't even know what they're doing. Gosh, these people are just dirty and corrupt. The SEC's Division of Trading and Markets granted accelerated approval for the proposed rule, permitting NYSE ARCA to list and trade shares of the Bitwise 10 crypto index ETF. It says, as of June 30th, the trust portfolio consisted of 78% Bitcoin, 10% Ether, and 4.9% XRP. I'm not going to get into all the other little holdings, right? The FTA ETF mandates that at least 85% of the holdings be in assets already approved by the SEC to underlie exchange traded products, right? With the remaining 15% in other digital assets. It says here, Coinbase Custody Trust will serve as a custodian. Who cares about this? But it says, however, later on July 22nd, the SEC's Office of the Secretary issued a stay of the approval under Rule 431. It says this letter to notify you that pursuant to Rule 431, the Commission's rules of practice, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? I'm going to skip over that. A similar situation recently occurred with Grayscale, which sought to list and trade shares of a digital large cap fund under the amended NYSE Act. So the point is that any company that's trying to list an ETF that either is fully XRP or has a little bit of XRP in it, they're getting shot down left and right. Let me ask you a question, and I'm going to answer it my way. Should this be bullish news or bad news? Say good or bad. Is it good or bad news for XRP? I'm just curious what you think. And the reason why I ask that is because you need to change the way that you think and perceive the news. You know, I use clickbait titles that are usually the exact titles of the news stories I read, right? And people get freaked out. The people that are saying this is great, this is bullish, are 100% correct, because they're thinking with a long-term thought process. Hey, I'm buying an asset that the government's scared of, and it keeps building. There's more wallets being created, more investors piling in, more money, more companies doing business with them. That's good. But in the short term, is it going to keep the price down or accelerate it up? Type up or down. What's going to happen? If you type the word down, you're correct. And if you see what's going on with the price of XRP, yeah, it hit an all-time high. But just so you know, that wasn't because of what Ripple's doing or what the SEC's doing. It hit an all-time high because we had a rotation from Bitcoin into the major, larger cap mainnet networks, okay? So on the same day that Ether was pumping, XRP was hitting an all-time high. Now you're seeing it come down. Ether is continuing its pump, which is going to be phenomenal for these small market cap altcoins. Again, I'm going to remind you, for everyone in the DeFi that has the trade calls, and if you want just the trade calls and the monthly coaching calls through January, the link's down below. We separated them just like everyone asked. And we have one coming out later this afternoon. We brought you one 3 months ago that has over 3x'd in price for the channel and for the DeFi students. And I just revealed it yesterday. I waited for the best news. Oh yeah, this company has been working with Ripple Labs to bolster and strengthen the XRP ledger. You ever hear anybody talking about that? No, of course not. That's how you find the gems in this industry. That's how you become wealthy. And then you pull some profits and you go do it with another one. Then you pull some profits, you go do it with another one. This is why it's important to realize this. So is it bad news? Yeah, the SEC shot down another XRP ETF. They're delaying it, and that's only adding downward pressure on the price. I'm not saying XRP is going to crash, and just be honest. Like, how many of you were hoping, just type me, if you were hoping that XRP would be at $4 at least by now, especially after this recent run up and smacking all-time highs? There's nothing wrong with that, right? Would I like to see my XRP holdings go up higher? Absolutely. Would I like to see, I can't get over it, Dave Portnoy thinks he literally is the lead of the XRP army. Holy cow. I would never say that, but hey, whatever, you know. I still think I own more than Dave. Who cares? It's not a measuring contest because my measuring sticks, you know, only small. It's the small Stanley. It's the 16-footer. Point being is that this is bad news in the short term, but it's great news for anyone that holds XRP long term, and that's why I've been holding it. But I like making money in different other ways. So if you want it, you want the trade calls down below, and you want to take advantage of this altcoin bull season and look at the projects me and Dylan are trying to weed through that nobody's talking about, and then poof, they all of a sudden explode because they get a bunch of media behind them. Thank you so much, Apologist, for the super chat. Then go ahead and take a look at it. Links down below for just the trade calls and the group coaching calls for the next, 5 months. Hopefully you have a great day. Economic Ninja is out.